All right, this is Victor Padilla and Jolie Gonzalez Padilla with Latin Times magazine and TV. We're here with actor Kevin Sorbo. How you doing today, Kevin?
You know, I'm doing all right. It's been a busy week for me, but I can't complain. I like to stay busy.
All right. So tell us about your family history and your background.
Wow, okay. That's kind of an open-ended question. I'm a Minnesota boy. I was born, I'm the fourth of 5 kids. Just outside of Minneapolis, a little area called Mound, Minnesota, the beautiful shores of Lake Minnetonka. In my little hometown of about 8,000 people, we were home to Tonka toys. That's where they used to make Tonka toys.
Oh, wow.
My dad was a teacher at junior high level. My mom was a nurse, but she became pretty much a full-time mom with 5 kids. And, had a great grow-up time. You know, I loved it. I got my best buddies are guys I've known since kindergarten, still to this day. I go back every summer to hang out, play football, basketball, baseball, and golf. I was a big sports guy and still a diehard Vikings fan. And, what can I say? I was just very lucky. You know, I fell in love with acting very early in life at the age of 11, but I was a jock first and a thespian second. So, but I was always, that's home for me. I always loved being there, and like I said, that's my roots. And then I moved to Dallas for a while. Then I moved after college. I moved to Europe for 3.5 years, and moved to Australia for a while. And finally came to Los Angeles when I was 27 to pursue the directing dream. But I put a lot of things on hold when I traveled to Europe. I got the travel bug.
Oh,
Wow,
that's good.
That's
good.
Great. You were able to do that.
Yeah, no regrets. I had a great time.
That's wonderful. What inspired you to want to become an actor?
I went to a play when I was 11 years old. My parents took me to the Guthrie Theater. The Guthrie Theater is very famous in Minneapolis. Minneapolis has more theater per capita than New York does, and the people there really support the arts. And I saw The Merchant of Venice. It was Shakespeare. I didn't know what the heck they were saying up there, but I was really mesmerized by the actors on stage, and I decided right then and there that's what I want to do. I want to be an actor.
Wow.
So lately you've been in quite a few faith-based films, and I remember you back when you were in doing Hercules. That was one of my favorite TV shows, of course.
Hey, I got to tell you, Hercules became the most watched show in the world in the 90s, passing Baywatch. I shot that from 1993 to 2000 down in New Zealand.
Yeah, I'd rather watch Hercules than Baywatch.
Any day.
Yeah. So what was there a change in your life?
What do you mean?
Well, you went from acting, let's say, in the with like Hercules and the TV shows, and so you started acting in these faith-based films, and the recent one.
Oh well, I did. Well, after Hercules, I did 5 years in a series called Andromeda. It was the first show Gene Roddenberry created.
Yes, that was a good show.
I'm a big fan of Star Trek, so it was fun for me to work on.
Oh yes, I love Star Trek. You should be in the next.
Andromeda. Pardon?
You should be in the next Star Trek movie.
Well, here's what's funny about that. Andromeda was the first show that Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek, wrote after Star Trek. He wrote it back in 1969. And when I was finishing up my last season on Hercules, season 7, I got a call from Majel Roddenberry, the widow of Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek. Gene wrote Andromeda back in 1969, as I said.
Yes, that's right.
I jumped forward at a 5-year run with that. After that finished, I've been doing I've shot about 45 movies since 2005. And Dallas Jenkins is a good friend of mine, and he brought the script What If to me, and What If was being produced by PureFlix, and PureFlix is the #1 distributor of faith-based and family-friendly movies, and What If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's a wonderful movie. It's on DVD, it's on Netflix, and since then I've done 5 movies with them, and one of them was God's Not Dead. So I've been a Christian my whole life, so it wasn't like this. I mean, I did it because I wanted to do, because I knew they'd be good movies. I've been approached before by other faith-based movies, but the scripts are so bad and cheesy, and I wasn't really happy with the teams they put together.
That's true.
Yeah, well, nowadays they've caught up with all the technology.
Well, yeah, you know what? The equipment now is just as good as anything on major motion pictures, and the product is getting out there, and the scripts are getting better, which is good.
Yes. And so that's why I asked if there was a change in your life, but you obviously have always had a relationship with God. So that to me is awesome.
Yeah,
And my wife and I, we're also ministers, and we have a ministry. So it's we just watched God's Not Dead recently, and we watched a couple of movies that you were in as well. But that movie struck home. That really struck home.
Well, it's dollar for dollar. It's the most successful movie in Hollywood this year. They shot it for $2 million. They had no money to put out there for commercials and stuff. And this little $2 million movie made $64 million in box office. Stayed in theaters for 3 months, and I've heard it's made over $30 million overseas. So it's a dollar for dollar. It's done quite well.
Yeah, it's really hit home with a lot of people.
Yes.
I've watched the social media on it, and it's just really hitting home.
Yeah, it's just it struck a nerve. People spread the word. They had a great marketing campaign by having people text "God's Not Dead" to all their family and friends, and it just really took off from there.
Yeah, because us being in the ministry, and we're very non-religious. When we say that, we're non-denominational.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, we're about relationship, and one thing that film did teach us was that we learned from it is that that we have to stand. People have to stand up for what they believe in.
Yep.
So that being said, Let the Lion Roar. Tell us about it and what role you're playing in it.
Yeah, they approached me for this to play John Calvin. John Calvin was basically a disciple of Luther, and I grew up in a Lutheran church, like same non-denominational now, but as a kid I grew up, and being a Scandinavian boy from Norway, and living in Minnesota, it's pretty typical of Lutheran churches all around that state. But I had no idea that Luther and Calvin were such anti-Semites. I had no idea until I read the history of these guys. They obviously did a lot of great work for churches and stuff, but they were blaming the Jews as a whole for killing Jesus. Yeah. And they were basically taking Israel right out of the Bible and just replacing everything with the word church. Yeah. And the whole idea of this is sort of to uncover one of the greatest deceptions ever, and the conspiracy to cover up the church's true identity. And this movie covers the whole history of the church, from the birth of Christ, through the Roman Empire, through Martin Luther, to World War II, and it just, God talks about the deep secrets of what was overlooked by modern church, and it's out there to really sort of let viewers try to remember where the root of Christianity really lies.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. They sent us the preview. We enjoyed it. And it was very educational, and I think that people are really gonna learn a lot from it. It's gonna really make a difference to churches, to the community, to anyone who most people are not aware. I mean, they're like we are, or how we were rather.
I'm the same way you are. I had no idea. Yeah, there's no question about that. Everybody knows that Jesus was Jewish, and it was the Pharisees of that time that gave up Jesus to the Romans for execution. Yes. And of course, many Jews were mourning his death at that time. It's hard to sit there and say that all Jews were against Jesus. Of course they weren't. Yes. I think it was all part of God's plan. It all worked out a way that was supposed to happen. So we're hoping that this does create conversation with people, just to say, hey, this is another way to look at it, where the church was supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it will, and I think that what you guys are doing, the marketing team there that is doing via social media, is excellent. And it's key in this, because I have been discussing this with my husband, that I feel that, there's evil forces in the world that actually utilize video and social media to convince people to think negative things about Israel. And so the way to, and social media is it's a great tool for that kind of stuff. I think that is going to have a similar effect, but opposite. Where you're influencing people and you're educating people and you're getting them away from the negative videos that are out there about Israel right now.
Yeah, and that's what this movie's supposed to do. It's really a positive approach to having support for Israel out there. It's amazing the number of people that are fighting against Israel, and look at that country. It's surrounded by nothing but enemies.
Exactly.
Yeah, and yet they continue to prosper, and because of that, these enemies even are more emboldened to do what they're doing now. I mean, look what's going on with all the bombs coming their way.
Yeah, exactly.
And people, even in our press here, people are sitting there going, well, it's really unfair. They have more advanced weaponry. So they're saying it's unfair that the people who attacked them, more of them have died than Israel people have died. They're saying it should be more. They're like, well, it should be more of an even body count. I mean, how strange of a request.
That's borderline sick, really, when you think about it. Yeah.
Well, you know what the scripture says. Those who bless Israel will be blessed. Those who curse Israel shall be cursed. So it's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. You got it.
So let me ask you a question on a different subject. Since we're a Latin magazine, what is your favorite Latino dish?
What's my favorite Latino dish?
Uh-huh.
That's interesting. give me some options, and I'll tell you what I think is my favorite.
Let me ask you this question. Do you like Cuban sandwiches?
I do.
Oh.
You know, I shot a movie in Miami.
Oh.
All right.
But you have a Miami Cuban, right?
I was South Beach down there.
Oh.
And
So
we did a lot of Cuban restaurants, and to be honest with you, I just remembered liking the food. I mean, I just had a good time down there.
Well, my wife and I, one of our other hats that we wear is we put on the the National Cuban Sandwich Festival here in Ybor City, Tampa. And
Really?
yeah, we're going on our 4th year. So I don't know when you're planning to move to Sarasota, but if it's within the next year, you got a spot if you want to come and hang out.
In the
I think that'd be a blast.
family, of course.
Yes, sir.
And
that'd be great.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. It's a national competition of restaurants and chefs that come to submit their Cuban sandwich and say they make the best. So we put them to the test, and it's a really great event. We make the world's biggest Cuban sandwich. We're going for 100 feet, and we cut it up and we feed it to the homeless. So it's.
Oh my gosh, 100 feet.
Yeah, 100 feet.
100 feet.
Oh, that's funny.
So, what advice can you give young actors today trying to make it in the entertainment business, or
the same advice that I was given before I left from a good friend of mine back in Minnesota. He said, "Remember, it's called show business, not show. And you got to treat it like a business, because you know what? You got everything going against you when you come out here. Because everybody wants to be an actor out here in LA. Everybody's competing for the jobs, and the whole idea of Hollywood is to get rid of people. It's all about the process of elimination. They look for anything. You're too tall, you're too short, you're too old, you're too young, you're too fat, you're too skinny. There's always something. Get rid of you. And so to me, I had such a strong will when I moved out here. I didn't know a person out here. And I moved out here and I just said, I'm going to do this. And I just put myself through the grinder. I hit the pavement and I sold myself. I took my double marketing degree of marketing and advertising. I marketed and advertised myself. I was my own product. And I went out there and I busted my butt. And, I got my break. But I think you have to have the talent. And they also have to have the luck. And you got to have those things at the same time when that one door opens up. Because this is, I think of all the guys that I was up against when I came in the late 80s, most of them are gone. Most of them are, doing what they're doing, selling cars or whatever, but they've given up on the business long ago. And I've been very fortunate, but I also made my own fortune.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, well, you treated it like a business, and you made the right decisions at the right time, and you were blessed with the right opportunities.
Yeah, I just plugged away. I didn't give up.
That's great. Who is your greatest inspiration or hero?
My dad. My dad was my best man at my wedding. He passed away here coming up in 2 years now. I miss him every single day. And, he was a big supporter of what I wanted to do with my life. I mean, he was a teacher, and, it was all about education was the most important thing to him. But at the same time, he said, work hard. Don't expect handouts. Don't expect people. I mean, you got to work hard. You got to make your own way. And he was very instrumental in me and not being afraid of failure and just pushing forward, because you fail a lot no matter what you do in your life, but most people don't move forward in their lives because they're afraid of failing, so they'd rather just sit there and complain and strategies and that didn't turn out the way they wanted it to. But you know what? There's no one to blame but themselves. So quit pointing fingers